Hello and welcome to the World of Concacaf podcast. I'm Eric Schmitz.
I'm Jonathan Slade.
And I'm Donald Wine.
And we are back after a long, arduous journey around the continent for the three of us. It's a World Cup summer. And I don't know about you guys, but I am exhausted.
Yeah, me too. I'm exhausted. I've been on a lot of planes. I got to get. I was hoping to have a little bit of a break for a little while longer, but I'm back on a plane again this week. But yeah, I'm just trying to recover.
I mean, look, I flew home on a red eye from Seattle to repack my bag and go to Dallas for a family reunion. I just got back from that at 1:30 this morning. So I know today is Monday. This is the first day that I've actually correctly said what day it is, what day of the week it is. But yeah, I'm still gassed. I probably will be gassed, but we still got more soccer left to watch, which is fun too.
Yes, but as far as we're concerned, the CONCACAF is over. So
correct.
The people have been dying to hear from us all tournament. So we're finally giving them the recap that they deserve. And we're going to go through and break down all of the CONCACAF teams and their performances in this summer's tournament. CONCACAF, of course, hosting this tournament for the first time since 1994. Actually, a great tournament for CONCACAF. 3 teams to the round of 16 for the first time since 2014. And we're just going to kind of run through each team in order based on finish and give a little recap.
So you start with Canada, right? Like, so we start with Canada. They stank. So Jesse Marsh stank. Oh, no. Do we get to save that? Do we get to bottle that and save it?
We're saving it. Just bottle it.
Okay.
Bottle it.
Okay.
Yeah. So we're going by official finish ranking. So leading us off, making their first appearance in the World Cup since 1974, finishing 45th out of 48 teams. That's going to be Haiti, who is in Group C and finished with a record of 3 losses and no wins, no draws. They opened up with a 1-0 loss to Scotland, where they pressed late and couldn't score. Their second match was against a tough Brazil team, where they were down 3-0 at half, and they became the first team to get officially eliminated in the tournament. Their last group stage game against Morocco, they actually led 1-0 and 2-1 in the first half, but Morocco is better and ended up with a 4-2 victory. Wrapping up the tournament, there were some rumors about coach Sebastian Mignet leaving, but according to the Haiti Football Federation, those are untrue. He is actually under contract through December of 2026. So it's good to be back in the tournament for Haiti, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
look, we have to give the context that they one of the rare teams that have qualified for a World Cup where they did not play a single game at home. Like, they played all their games on the road, neutral site. They qualified for their first tournament by, getting it, did they win their group? They qualified for their first World Cup in, 52 years. That's a huge accomplishment. And their reward was getting Scotland, Brazil, and Morocco. That's not their fault. That is what the draw gave them. And we said when the draw happened, poor Haiti, like that's a tough go. But hey, look, Scotland, they were very close. Brazil, they started out okay, and then Brazil just kind of showed their talent. And same with Morocco, to have the leads and stuff like that, and then Morocco just becoming, hey, we're Morocco, let's power through this thing. It's hard for Haiti to overcome, but this is hopefully something that can spur the next generation of their program and really the next 4 years. Now they have expectations. So there'll be a team that can sit there and say, hey, this is something we want to relive again, but this is also where they should probably feel that with all the adversity that they've overcome, that hopefully will only get better, right? I don't think they're going to be on the road for the rest of their lives. So hopefully this means that they can start to dream and expect to have this kind of performance to get to the World Cup every single time now.
Yeah, something to build on going into Nations League and the Gold Cup, where they're not necessarily going to be facing Brazil and Morocco. So good for Haiti. Hopefully they can keep the squad together and Mignet sticks around because they're building something there. Moving on, finishing 43rd, Panama. Panama gets the distinction of being the only team to not score a goal in the 2026 FIFA World Cup. They finished 0 wins, 0 draws, 3 losses in Group L. Only a -4 goal difference. They lost 1-0 to Ghana on a dagger 5th minute of stoppage time winner by Caleb Urenki of Ghana. That really set them off. They went off the skids there. They played a tight game against Croatia, lost 1-0, which eliminated them from the tournament. And then their final match, they were facing England. They lost 2-0. Now, they had played England in the 2018 World Cup. That game, England won 6-1. In this one, 0-0 at half, and a couple goals by Jude Bellingham and Harry Kane. Not bad players. It's the difference. Yes, it's a difference for Panama. And obviously, you want to get some results. You want to celebrate a goal, but tough draw, tough results, but something to build on for Panama. Panama's federation actually announced just before us recording that Thomas Christensen will continue as manager into the next cycle. So something to look forward to there.
I think with Panama too, I mean, we saw kind of throughout this World Cup qualifying cycle that this was a time where there's a lot of transition within the Panamanian team. Yeah, they've gotten younger. A lot of those guys that were around for so long aren't there. Like Anibal Godoy is one of the last ones around, and he made a single appearance during the World Cup. So it's not like I don't think they're going to be churning a lot of guys out. But definitely like very strong defensive performance. I think, looking forward to Panama's, they have to figure out something up top and something like some bit of creativity, but clearly they showed that they can, defend well, and they were really organized. And so I think, they do have a lot of stuff to build with, like we talked about with Haiti. I think with a lot of these CONCACAF teams, and we'll talk about Curacao here in a little bit, but I think it's like, now it's like, what are you going to do in Nations League? How are you getting ready for Gold Cup? And like, that's really going to be the opportunity for them to take the next step there.
I think the true disappointment for Panama is not scoring. And they were very close. Eric, as you mentioned, all 3 games were close games. But I think their disappointment will be, especially the fact that 1 goal could have made a difference in each of those games, not just for, turning a draw into, or a win into a loss into a draw, but even a draw into a win in the case of the Ghana game. If they score before Ghana does, if they score before that 90+5, maybe they're the ones that are talking about moving on to the next round as a 3rd place team. So yeah, the disappointment is in not scoring for them, because they're the team that it could have changed the most about their situation.
Yeah. In hindsight, you look at the results, it's like, oh, they kind of held their own. But man, if they get a better result in that first match, I think it really sets up those last 2 for them to shock. And we've seen them get results in CONCACAF. They are a tough team. Like, Mexico has problems with them. The U.S. has problems with them. Canada has problems with them. Like, Panama can compete. It's unfortunately weren't able to break through in this one, but they'll get another chance. Next up, as Jonathan mentioned in a little bits right now, finishing 42nd out of 48 teams, Curacao, the Blue Wave, in Group E, they finished with 2 losses and 1 draw. In their first appearance, the smallest country by population to ever qualify for a FIFA World Cup. In their first match against Germany, venerable Germany, they end up losing 7-1, but Livano Comenencia, a name that will live in infamy, the first ever goal for Curacao in a FIFA World Cup, in the 21st minute. That game was tied 1-1 until the 38th minute. Obviously went off the rails, but Livano will be a hero for his entire life. Ecuador up next. Curacao gets their first point ever in a 0-0 draw. Eloy Room named man of the match. And then in their final match against Ivory Coast, they get a 2-0 loss. And maybe the most unfortunate part of the tournament for Curacao is we never got to see their away kits.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the away kits, that's a travesty. But I think of the positive, right? You have that one goal where, at least for what, 6-7 minutes, the entire world was like, okay, Curacao, we about to do something here, right? Like all of Concacaf was like, all right, Curacao, go get yours. And then in the Ecuador match, Eloy Room comes within one save of tying Tim Howard's record of number of saves in a game. He was breakdancing all over the goal in that game to keep it 0-0. Congrats to Curacao for getting the point there. Again, having that one, moment where the entire world was like, oh, who's this? What is this island that we speak of? And all of us CONCACAF people going, this is why we do islands. This is why we appreciate the Caribbean Football Union, because they can provide moments like that.
Yeah, I think of the other thing. I don't remember if it was our post draw reaction or if it was like our preview of the World Cup, but I remember saying that, like, what does success look like for Curacao? I said scoring a goal, and not only did they score a goal, but they got a point. Like, I think there's I know there's a lot of people that saw, like, great vibe, great jerseys. I was also gonna mention the biggest shame was they didn't wear the yellow aways, but I think that I think they just have a lot to be proud of coming out of that World Cup, like with teams like Ecuador, Ivory Coast, and Germany scoring a goal, getting a point. Like, there's a lot they can build on, and they're probably the ones. I think they're they're definitely the oldest team of maybe the non-host CONCACAF countries, but I'm excited to see how they build on it moving forward.
Yeah, I would hazard to say, and obviously this CONCACAF, pro CONCACAF, so by mentioning a non-CONCACAF team, I think other than maybe Cape Verde, Curacao has the best vibe, best feeling about how they did without actually progressing far into the tournament.
Yeah, I was like the one vibe team that out vibes Curaçao's was definitely Cape Verde.
The islands.
I was gonna say Cabo Verde and DR Congo are probably the only two that I would put on the same level as that moment of Curacao having have equalized against Germany, and then that whole entire game against Ecuador when Eloy Room decides to channel his inner Tim Howard, but gracefully stops one short so that Tim can keep his record.
Yeah. Well, Tim had the knockout record regardless. So this was a group stage.
Right.
So it's got that going for him. All right, so those are the three teams that did not advance past the group stage. Let's move on to the three teams that did advance. And great for CONCACAF, they all got wins in the brand new round of 32. Let's start off with number 14 ranked of the finishers, Canada. In Group B, they finished with one win, one loss, and one draw. That was enough for second in the group. They opened up the tournament against Bosnia and Herzegovina. They got a 1-1 draw thanks to Kyle Laren's 78th minute equalizer. I'm sorry, Sile Laren. For you.
Sile.
And then in their second match against Qatar, a lot happening here. A 6-0 win for Canada against Qatar. Not only is it the first World Cup win in Canada history, it's the biggest winning margin by a nation outside of UEFA or CONMEBOL in World Cup history, which is insane. Jonathan David became the first North American player with a hat trick in that game since American Bert Patenaude in 1930. And Qatar got 2 red cards and played almost the entire second half with 9 men. So if you're wondering how Canada could beat anyone 6-0, take a couple guys off the field. That helps.
Wide open spaces.
But that set up a match against Switzerland, the third group stage match for the group. And Switzerland won 2-1. So Canada failed to win the group, and that meant the round of 32 game, which was supposed to be at home in Canada, they had to go on the road to LA to go play that. So kind of a fumble by Canada there. But in LA,
kind of a fumble. I think it's more than kind of a fumble.
I mean, Switzerland's a better team than them. They shouldn't necessarily be winning the group because they're definitely not the best team in that group, as we've seen in the tournament. But it's home. You got to find a way. You had the goal difference advantage. All you got to do is get a draw in that game.
Keep going. I have thoughts on them having to go to LA.
Okay.
Keep going.
Well, in LA, Canada got their signature moment of the tournament. In the second minute of stoppage time, Stefan Eustáquio with a banger goal to send Canada to the round of 16 in their first knockout win ever. In the round of 16, they faced Morocco. Well, the game was tied at half. Morocco ended up pulling away and winning 3-0 down in Houston. For Canada, looking ahead, Jesse Marsch signed a new 4-year deal before the World Cup. So now we know he still doesn't want the U.S. job.
Look, we can talk about that in a second. I want to go back to all the Canadian fans that were complaining about the fact that because they finished second in Group B, that they had to go to LA. And they were like, well, they should just move the Switzerland game to LA and keep Canada in Toronto is where Switzerland ended up playing. And they're like, we should, if Canada is in the knockout stage, they should be able to stay in Canada as far as they go. Mexico should be able to stay in Mexico. And I say to them this, Canada picked this route. Their hubris was they assumed they were going to win the group, so it wouldn't have mattered. But because they didn't, this is the path that they picked. They could have picked another way. They could have said, hey, put us in this little region where we play in Toronto twice and we stay in Toronto and go to Vancouver. They could have done that, but they didn't. They picked the Vancouver 2 times route because they wanted to be able to go back to Toronto because, again, they assumed they were going to win the group. And they said, well, no co-host has ever had to play a knockout stage game outside of their home country. And that is true. But Mexico almost had to do the same thing. If Mexico had lost, they would have played in Houston, I want to say, right?
Yeah.
And if the U.S.
also
had
Mexico
third,
plays half their games in America anyway, so
right.
Yeah.
And if the U.S. had finished third, they would have played in Vancouver. So, and we already knew how this format was set up. You cannot change games just because your team decided to lose a crucial game to another team. Again, the United States, as we'll talk about, was in was thinking they were going to be in a similar position. They won their games. They won their group. They were able to stay in the path that they had picked. The 3 co-hosts picked their paths in 2024. You know how I know this? Greg Berhalter was still coach when this was announced. They picked their paths, how they wanted to do it, and they did it to minimize the amount of travel that they would have to do. But you got to win the games.
Mm-hmm.
Listen, this isn't grade school. There aren't participation trophies. I know Canada's really new at winning a World Cup game. So they just maybe don't know how these things work, but you just don't get things moved around for you because you fucked up.
Yeah. I'll also say, we could talk about Jesse Marsch blue in the face. I don't want to do that. I do want to talk about his decision to bring Alphonso Davies.
Yeah.
Because it was clear that he was hurt. He ends up playing 60 minutes in the entire tournament, something like that.
I think it was less than that. He played
one game. There was one game where they threatened to bring him off the bench, but they never did. And then against Morocco, they did the same thing, and he didn't play. And it was clear that he was hurt. And I get that he's your best player. We would joke that he's your only player, but some people would. But I think the idea is no team should have been bigger, or no player should have been bigger than the moment. I get that you want to put your best guy out there, but if he was that hurt, then you had to at some point say, hey, look, this is a difficult decision, but we need a guy that we can plug in here if we need him. And we can't look down at the end of the bench and hope that this guy is ready to go. I get it. It's hard to do that with your best player, but you have to. I definitely question how Jesse March and Canada Soccer like worked with that thing because that cost them a lot of momentum. It's definitely one of the reasons why they lost against Switzerland is because they were trying to figure out how to stay afloat until he could get in, and he never could. And in your most crucial game in the country's history, to sit there and basically threaten, yeah, he's ready to go, and to not play him because he's not ready to go, that's a big problem. That's something they're going to have to address because this is
Yeah.
the second time that this man has been hurt because of something that the coaching staff did.
So he only played the last 15 minutes of the knockout game against South Africa. So he came on the field, was on the field for the winner. He didn't play any of their games. Alphonso Davies is their star. And honestly, you almost want to give some kudos to Canada for their performance without their far and away best player. Mm-hmm. Like, if the U.S. was missing any of their key guys, we'd be considering it when we're talking about the performance. So you can't talk about Canada's performance without mentioning that Alphonso Davies just wasn't Alphonso Davies for that. I do wonder if you're a country like Canada that doesn't have the depth, that if you've got a guy who's far and away your superstar, knowing that you might be able to get 15 minutes out of him in a game that might matter, would it have been too aggressive to leave him at home, knowing that he's just such a big part of your group? Like, even if he's on the bench, people are looking at Alphonso Davies like, what are we doing? Because he is their guy.
Give him a coaching, like, little pullover or something, right? Like, we've talked about this on the women's side, right? With some players that were out. We're like, hey, like, when Becky Sauerbrunn didn't make the 2023 team because she had just come back from injury, a lot of us were like, just give her a clipboard, like, bring her on the plane. You can still have the leadership aspect of things, but know that she's not going to play. They decide to leave her at home, right? And so I think in this case is, I get that you might want to bring him for luck, for leadership, for just the sheer hope, but it clearly affected how they approach these games.
Yeah, I just don't think Canada's got 26th guy who would have been more valuable to bring. Looking at their roster, they just don't have the depth.
Yeah. I mean, I like to that point of like with Becky or with like even, I hate to give England any kudos with like, you know, even though he's still injured, like what they've done with Jordan Henderson, like Tuchel talked about him being the like glue holding the team together. And I think there's a way that Jesse Marsh could have done that with Alphonso.
At least he did something stupid and hurt himself during the World Cup. It wasn't something that happened before.
Yeah. Still wearing the uniform though. Still
full
kit.
Yeah. John Terry style.
But I do also think that I mean, it's just another thing that like Jesse Marsh just isn't good at things. He's not a good man manager. He's not good. Like, he's got such a chip on his shoulder about the U.S. team. Like, he couldn't keep the U.S. team's name out of his mouth when he's doing post or pre-match press conferences for a home World Cup for Canada. Like, remember this, Canadians? He's just your fallback.
Listen, remember, Jesse Marsh is from Wisconsin. Get anyone from Wisconsin talking about the Packers. That's how Marsh talks about Canada soccer. Like, everything is an aggrievement if you're not talking about him and everything he's doing. So, you know, yeah, you mentioned the U.S. around him. You just breathe it. It's like saying something about the Bears to a Packers fan. It's just like they can't accept it. It's a Wisconsin thing. Sorry,
we're still going to talk. We're still going to hear him talk about it for the next 4 years. And I will say he definitely talked about it before the Switzerland game. He definitely talked about it before the Morocco game. And then even after the Morocco match, when they lost 3-0, he had the audacity to go in front of the world and say that he'd rather be Canada than Morocco, and that Canada was the better team. And I'm like, my guy, maybe
they keep
for the
score.
first half,
they keep score.
That's why we play the games. That's why we keep score. Germany was the better team against Paraguay. They lost too, right? But they lost on penalties. You lost 3-0 by giving up 3 goals in the second half. You could have said, our first half, we were the best, we're the better team, and we just lost it. But to go on and basically say Morocco did nothing, and it was just just basically like, we messed up. That's a reflection on the coach too. So I don't know why he would come out and offer that right after, again, a devastating loss like that. And I also will end with this. The United States won on Canada Day, but Canada could not win on Independence Day. That's
True.
how it was.
Those are true. Um, Before we move on, I just do want to shout out. It looked like Toronto and Vancouver really showed out for this tournament, which is great to see. I really hope that,
Especially Vancouver.
yeah,
Yeah.
I really hope that this is a moment for Canada and their program where you see a drive and like support, because it's better for the US and Mexico if Canada is truly elite competitor for them. Obviously, we don't
And
ever want to see
infrastructure.
them win, but like the infrastructure, it's better for the region if Canada gets better. And I think that this is a giant step towards that. This could be for Canada what 94 was for the US.
Hey, figure
Yeah.
something out with the Vancouver Whitecaps, right? Like
Yes.
that start there,
Get
and
them a
then
stadium.
get them a stadium, but also, make it where BC Place and you have more team or more stadiums like BC Place. You don't have to bring in sketchy scaffolding to increase BMO Field. If they want to host more World Cups, they have to figure out how to get stadiums that they can pack full of people. And they need cities to buy into that. And of course, the United States had more cities that wanted to buy into it than they were willing to give, right?
Mm-hmm.
But in the case of Canada, it was only Vancouver and Toronto that decided they wanted to bid. You have to figure out what to do about Montreal and Olympic Stadium, if you want to renovate that to make it where it's eligible next time. But I think hopefully for Canada, they have a lot more of a foundation to create than the Mexico and the United States. But hopefully they see this success of this World Cup and go, we could do so much more with this.
Yeah, for sure. All right, let's move on. Finishing 12th in the final ranking, so this year's FIFA World Cup, is the United States of America. Out of Group D, finishing the group with 2 wins and 1 loss, and eventually losing in the round of 16. Still a historic tournament for the co-hosts. The most goals they've ever scored, the most wins they've ever had in a single World Cup, and possibly the dumbest ending they've had to a World Cup. Opening up, Paraguay in LA. United States 4, Paraguay 1. The US up 3-0 at half, 2 Balogun goals, an own goal, absolute bedlam in LA. Just before we even like talk about the other games, I just want to say that I think halftime of that game might be the happiest I've been watching this team ever. Like,
Well, after we tried to figure out was this a real team that we were,
yes,
we're a real team, fake team podcast. We were asking that
what
question
year
in the
is
concourse.
It? Absolutely insane. We'll get to more of that later on. Second group game against Australia up in Seattle. U.S. wins 2-0 on an own goal and an Alex Freeman goal. It was confirmed by VAR. That win clinched a spot in the round of 32. So the third group game against Turkey, meaningless game. U.S. rotated the squad. Turkey wins 3-2 on a winner in the 8th minute of stoppage time. Who cares? But also insanely frustrating. So the U.S. moves on. They face Bosnia and Herzegovina in the round of 32. They get a goal by Folarin Balogun in the first half. They get a red card to Folarin Balogun in the second half. And Malik Tillman hits a free kick that people will remember forever. The U.S. wins their first knockout game since 2002 and only the second knockout game in their history. And then the shit show starts. Folarin Balogun, who had received a red card in that game, the suspension for the red card for the round of 16 game, the suspension was suspended because of some nonsense. And then just glazing over that, round of 16, they face Belgium, who had eliminated them in 2014. Give up an early goal. Malik Tillman, another free kick goal, ties it 1-1, and then Belgium just runs away with it against a lackluster U.S. squad who is clearly rattled by the preceding 48 hours of bullshit. What do we want to talk about for this? Because I think
I feel like there's a lot. There's a lot to talk about. I'm going to challenge your premise on one thing. You
Which
said
premise?
the happy, not premise, statement maybe. You said the happiest you've ever been watching this team was at halftime of the LA game, and I would say for me, it was walking out of the stadium in Seattle, because at that point we had seen that the game in LA wasn't an aberration, that like it was like the most hopeful I've ever been about this team. It is just like the all-time vibes coming out of the stadium that day, especially the fact like, and this is like, people build stadiums in urban areas, because like walking out of that, like into just the crowd of people, and like where people who maybe weren't able to go to the game had just been around the stadium, and like it's like, it was like what the World Cup was about.
Yeah. No.
For me,
go ahead.
For me, when Balogun hit that second goal, which is quite honestly one of the best U.S. goals ever.
Banger.
It was ridiculous. If you have not listened to, I know we've watched these goals through Balloon Face. If you have not watched the one with Andres Cantor calling, he basically has a baby on national TV with that goal. But that moment, Eric, you and I were walking around the concourse, like asking people, like, who was this team and what have they done with the team?
What year? What year is it? You know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What are we watching here? And is this real? Because we were told to never chase reality, and I don't think any of that felt real to me.
That was a reality I wanted to chase, because I didn't understand what was going on.
But to Slape's point, that game in Seattle, at the end of it, you realize that we just did something historic. We had not won 2 group stage games since 1930, and for us to do that, and then later on find out that we had won the group after 2 games, riddling the third game against Turkey as the most friendly World Cup game ever for the men's national team side. It was remarkable. That was where you saw the momentum really shift. Like, people who do not watch soccer were talking about it. All of our friends who don't watch soccer were hitting us up for tickets.
Yeah,
to a World Cup game like it was a game in Chester,
Cleveland.
Yeah. No, they wouldn't hit us up about stuff in Cleveland. No, we're not going. But those sort of moments where you kind of look back and you go, wow, like what a journey that we're at the center of, and this could be the start of something major. And that's where you allowed yourself to kind of think, how far can this really go? Right.
Yeah.
We knew that we had to play some better teams, and we had to beat them. But at least for those moments, I was like, reality is gone. And if this is real, I want it. I want to keep it. I want to cultivate it, and I want to grow it. It was so much fun to be a part of those kind of moments during this run.
Yeah.
So, question for you guys: how many? So you talked about the second Balogun goal. I could talk about Reyna's goal against Paraguay. We could talk about the Malik Tillman free kicks.
I called that one. The first one against Bosnia,
yeah.
I called it in the stands. Yeah.
I've never cried so much after a goal. I've never cried so much after a win like I did in Bosnia. But that's not my question is, how many of the top 10 best technical goals were scored for the U.S. men were scored in this World Cup?
I mean, they scored more goals than the last 6 World Cups.
No, I'm talking about top 10 all-time, most technically brilliant U.S. goals. How many of them were scored in this World Cup? Because I would argue at least 3, maybe 4.
I mean, yeah, that last goal, I guess the Ballo's second goal against Paraguay, Gio Reyna's goal against Paraguay, where they had 26 straight passes.
Yeah. Reyna's goal might be one of the best "fuck you" goals in U.S. history.
Just that was we're doing this because we can. We were chanting "Ole" in the stands because we can, right? And then he said
he travellaed it. It was it was insane.
Yeah. And that's just like the ref was ready to blow his whistle. If he turns around and back passes, the game's over. But he's not like, fuck you.
Mm-hmm.
Back corner.
There's just so many great
the Berhalter goal. The Berhalter goal
against Turkey.
Yeah.
Trusty just putting his foot through the ball against Turkey. Even Freeman, right? I will say, obviously, Seattle is known for the Beast Quake, but we created 2 in that game against Australia when the own goal happened, and like the 9th minute, 11th minute, and then when Freeman scored, there was a mini one, but when the VAR said, "Oh no, that actually, I know we said outside, but it actually was a goal." When he said that, and you see just the sheer joy that he had, that he had scored a World Cup goal at home, and hearing how loud it was in there, and again causing another earthquake, that like his smile on his face and his just like, wow, I really did this. Like, this is a kid that 4 months ago, people were like, if this man is on the national team, we're gonna riot.
Yeah.
And he had that moment for himself and for his country.
Yeah.
God bless him. That's amazing.
I do want to leave some of the discussion about our World Cup experiences for our one more round bonus episode, which is available on our patreon.com/podcacaf, POD-CACAF. For just $1 a month, you can get access to our beautiful bonus episodes. We're going to be
thank you to our
recording
patrons.
Yeah, thank you to our patrons. We love you.
Love you.
We'll be recording World Cup themed episode once we're done here. But to talk more on the analytical side, are we happy with this tournament from the US? Are we content? Like, is it? I don't want to say it's a pass fail, but pass fail.
We passed.
I think pass. I think
how we're supposed to.
Yeah.
We're 16th in the world. We finished 12th. Like, the people who were expecting us to get to the quarterfinals, I mean, you could hope we get to the quarterfinals. And again, a lot of this was based on the teams in front of us. But like, if you're like, oh, I expect them to get to the semifinal and the final, like, how many teams have done that? Like,
not many.
11.
Yeah, like 12. Yeah, something like that.
I mean, there's only
one
8
of them.
teams.
We did it in 1930.
Yeah. But like, there's only 8 teams that have ever won it. Like, it's not easy to get far in this tournament. No one gets far.
I have to say they passed, because if anyone talked to me before the World Cup started, I said, like, what does success look like? It was, win a round of 32 game and like see what happens in the round of 16. And so like in that, yeah, they passed, but I think how it happened and like the performance on the field is the one that is like, they still pass, but like, God, did it hurt?
Yeah,
they left house money on the table for sure.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. They definitely left house money on the table.
Yeah, and I think if they would have gone through the group stage, getting those results, but not even playing as well as they did, I think it would have been easier to stomach the way that Belgium game went. But because of how they looked in that Belgium game, like, they just were fucking flat. Like, they were not up for that game, and you can't not be up for a round of 16 game at the World Cup in your own fucking country. I think a large chunk of that is due to what happened in the preceding 48 hours. And if Balogun is suspended for that game and the game plan they had with Ricardo Pepi gets rolled out, I think that's a closer game. I don't know if they win, but that's a closer game. And I think in the end, it's just like, you got what you ordered from the menu, but it's a little cold. It tastes fine. It's good. You got what you paid for, but it's like, man, it would have been nice to.
The fries were a little soggy.
Yeah,
you got a burger and fries, and you're like, this is exactly what I asked for. I got it. This is cool. And then you looked over and you saw the dudes eating steak, and you go, hold up.
Yeah.
That
you got wings, but they're kind of tiny.
Yeah.
It's like, I got my 10 wings, but these ones are a little tiny.
I said this on my other podcast, and I'll tell you guys this. This is a stat that really puts it into context about how hard it is to win the World Cup. I was born in 82, and in 1982, there were 6 teams that had won the World Cup. that list has increased by just 2 teams in my lifetime. France and Spain.
Yeah.
And France has won twice.
Yeah, of course they should win World Cups. It's France and Spain.
Well, no, I just mean like it's like I lived in a world for 16 years where France had not won a World Cup. We still live in a world where the Netherlands has never won a World Cup, where Belgium and Portugal have never won World Cups. This is difficult. And people thought there are some people who had the illusion of we're on home soil, we should win. And there's a lot of casuals who just because of the Olympics, they go, it's the Olympics. We're here in America. Like we should be dominating everybody that's smaller than us.
Yeah.
The only nation of the top 10 biggest, most populous nations on earth, of the top 10, only Brazil has won a World Cup.
It's crazy.
It's crazy, right? And that just goes to show you how hard it is to win these things. So you take the success stories where you can.
Yeah. All right. I think it'll be good to compare how it ended for the U.S. with this next team. So the best finishing CONCACAF team, one of the other co-hosts finishing 9th, so really the best ranked team that went out in the round of 16 is Mexico, who in Group A went 3 wins, 0 losses, 0 draws. One of 3 teams who went 3-0-0 in the group stage. Only France, Argentina, and Mexico finished 3-0. So they used the home field advantage to their advantage. They opened up the tournament with a 2-0 win over South Africa. Julian Quinones' goal 9 minutes in. That game had 3 red cards in it, which like the tournament opening on a game that has 3 red cards, just like set in motion. What a absolutely bonkers tournament this has been. Their second match against South Korea, a 1-0 victory. Mexico became the first team to ever qualify for the round of 32. And then they finished up their group stage with a 3-0 win over Czechia. They actually didn't rotate their squad, even though they had already clinched a spot in the next round. So they went through the group perfect. In the round of 32, they took on Ecuador. They were up 2-0, 31 minutes in control most of the game, which set up for a round of 16 match against England. Possibly the game of the tournament. England wins 3-2. And I think the English sports writers finally got a glimpse of like what CONCACAF is in that game. Honestly, it's a legacy game for this tournament. So overall, finishing 9th, it's the worst finish in a World Cup that Mexico has ever hosted because they finished 6th in the previous 2 times they hosted. But this is their best finish since 1986. So knowing how the U.S. tournament ended, how do you think Mexico should feel about the way their tournament ended?
I first of all want to not apologize. I had a lot of Schadenfreude coming out of that game. We all watched this game together, but I think they have a lot of things to hold their heads high about how they went out against a team that is in the semifinals. It was an incredible game. I think like the other thing to note is like that game also got moved to like noon in Mexico City because of potential storms. There was still
it never got moved.
It never got moved.
No, it was supposed to. They talked about getting moved. It didn't get moved.
Yeah.
But then it got delayed because of guess what? There were storms.
Yeah. No, we're not moving this game. Guess what? We're moving this game.
Yeah, guess what? We're delaying this game. Yeah, just like what a like. I think in the moment I may have like say this was the U.S. like would have felt like having my heart ripped out of my chest. But fuck, what a way to go out! Like, I mean,
they went out swinging.
They gave England the full CONCACAF experience, the full Azteca experience. The only thing is like it's a shame they never had to go there when it was 100,000, not 80,000.
Yeah,
they had English journalists talking about what it's like in Mexico City, like they were on the moon. They're like, we're walking around. I walk down to the market and I'm so winded. I don't know how these
Balls
guys are
bounce
going to.
higher here.
The ball bounces higher. I was checking that. Like they were reporting they were all meteorologists. And then all of a sudden, like you said, it was the storms that delayed the game and not altitude or anything like that. But yeah, I think look, they got to their fifth game. That's the one thing that they've always talked about is the curse of the fifth game. They finally got to one, but it's in the same round that they normally exit in anyway, in the round of 16. So um, it's weird. I think the biggest thing for me about Mexico in their loss to England is that it was at Azteca. That is a fortress, and even with the crowd behind them, for them to come up short again, this is the one game. If they had beaten England, I would have been like, all right, let's just declare it. Nobody go to Azteca ever again, because that would have been a magic that would have probably propelled them a little bit further. But Azteca took a hit only because, I mean, they're what, the third team to win a competitive game at the Azteca against Mexico. So that was the only, I guess, take from that is that left a better pill in there for them to swallow because of the fact that it was Azteca, and I'm sure they walked in saying it's Azteca. England's complaining about everything about being here. We should be able to get them, and England shows their quality, and makes it a really, really high profile game. But it's weird. I think they're probably satisfied with it, even though they did something that they've never done in getting to the fifth game of the tournament.
Yeah, I was going to ask, like, if it's a similar question that Eric, like, is this a pass fail for Mexico? Do you think the Mexican Federation, do you think the Mexico fan base feels that this was is this pass fail for them because it was the fifth game, or did they come up short?
It's weird. I think they're satisfied, but satisfaction doesn't get you anything in Mexico, especially around soccer. I don't know if, like, for example, are they going to keep Javier Aguirre? Probably not. Are they going to keep some of
They
these
don't keep. I mean,
players?
Aguirre may show back up.
Yeah, 20 years from now. Because that's what he kind of does. But like, are some of these players going to be going? And I'm not talking about Ochoa, but like some of the guys that were on this team, they didn't have the depth that they thought they did, which is why they didn't rotate their players for the third game. Are some of these guys going to go, or they're going to continue their kind of trying to bring people to back to Liga MX, because they had that whole thing before the tournament where they said report date is like, it was like during the last couple of weeks of the seasons for both Liga MX and MLS and Europe, and they said if you're not here, you're not going to be on this team, and they thought that was a way to kick everybody in the ass and get them going. But I'm wondering if they look at this and say we're on the right track here. I don't know that they necessarily do, because that doesn't feel like what the FMF style is. It's just about, we didn't get to our achieved goal, which for them was they probably had delusions of winning, so they're going to try and blow it up and start over. The question is how many of those players are going to get caught in that process.
Yeah. I mean, for me, I think it's a flat pass. Like, they got their cinco partido. Like, even though there's a round of 32, whatever, they got to get the full run of the tournament as they should have expected to. Like, they are, I think going into the tournament, they were ranked like 14th in the world. Like, round of 16, that's where you're supposed to be. I think the more important thing for Mexico is not only do they have some young players, like Gilberto Mora was a key player, like he is a child, and he's got some great experience, and he's going to be a key player for them. I think for Mexico, the most important thing to come to this tournament is going to be the connection the people of Mexico have to the national team. Because hosting this tournament, Mexico played 5 games in Mexico. The last time Mexico played 5 consecutive games in Mexico was 2003.
Mm-hmm.
They don't play home games. They were around. Like, this was a month-long party for El Tri for Mexico. and getting the results they did, the performances. I mean, they won 4 games and they had a power loss. Like that is a great tournament for Mexico, and the fan base has to. You'd hope they're really going to embrace it, and I hope the Mexican Federation is looking at this like, we did a great job. Fans showed up. We need to play more games at home, and I really hope that that's going to be the legacy of this. Is like they put work into Azteca, they renovated that. Guadalajara, that stadium's great. Like, are they going to play more games in Mexico now? They should, because
I think
the fans deserve it after this.
I think too, like it wasn't just 5 games in Mexico, but like to your point, like they played in Guadalajara, they played in Monterrey, like they played, all like call it 3 major areas in Mexico for people to get to, and so I hope it continues for them. I also think like another part like of Mexico that I feel like definitely won the hearts and minds with the Korean fans, who definitely had a absolute blast in Mexico during the World Cup. But so I hope it continues.
Yeah, I think that's gonna be one of the stories of this World Cup is like anyone who came from anywhere had an amazing time wherever they were.
Mhm.
Like, obviously, there's a lot of social media buzz about like all foreigners, checking out these weird places in the U.S. Like, everyone had such a good time. The vibes were so good. Outside of one incident that some asshole had to like get his hands in, everything about the tournament has been like great since it started. Obviously, there was the stuff about the ref getting denied and fans from certain countries getting denied, but once the thing
Iran.
started, the vibes have been up.
I
And
Your point about Mexico playing more games in Mexico can also be said of Canada because, as you guys know, like recently, over the past like 4 to 5 years, they've started creeping to the United States and playing more games here too. For their infrastructure to improve, they gotta be able to fund it. And let's be real, Canada Soccer does not have a lot of money right now. Um, but they need to start funding the infrastructure and they need to start funding fueling the hearts and minds of the people up there. They got to start playing more games up there. And sure, their climate's a little bit different than ours. They can't play a lot of times in the winter and stuff like that. Like they can't have a December camp, but they should be playing games in Edmonton and Calgary and Winnipeg and Montreal,
Flin
Quebec.
Flon.
Yeah, like they need to go to some of these places and play. Don't go to Hamilton.
Yeah.
But there's Ottawa,
Thunder Bay,
like
why not?
Thunder Bay, chill, man. Shout out them. But they can play in some of these areas, but that's where they're gonna get the investment. Is gonna be people going, oh, I get a chance to see my national team play. They get excited by watching them play. They want to invest more. They buy more jerseys. They invest in their particular membership clubs that they might have. They donate money to Canada Soccer for them to build more fields. Infrastructure comes from people getting a reason to believe, and that starts with them being able to see their team play as opposed to having to watch them on TV because they're somewhere else, or in the case of Mexico, always in another country playing games.
And
All
I get
right.
the challenge too. I get the challenge too with like going to Vancouver during breaks as well, just because like
Hmm.
the national team has grown to the point where they do have a lot more players playing in Europe, and like that's a consideration they have to have is like the flight time for these camps and things getting all the way over to the west coast of North America.
Yeah. So I'll posit lists. Pass fail. Concacaf at the World Cup.
I'd say pass.
Yeah, I'd say pass.
It's difficult because obviously it's 50%. Three out of 6 teams make it. All 3 co-hosts made it. All 3 co-hosts, as you mentioned, won a game. I think that's the easy pass. But I also think it leaves some room for improvement from the rest of CONCACAF because we're going to have 6 moving forward. Maybe more if they expand to 64 teams. But some of these teams, hopefully, you have more CONCACAF teams that have a chance of making the World Cup now, as opposed to really 4 teams vying for 3 spots. Now you have like 9, 10 teams vying for 6 spots. So
And
that's
let's
a
also,
good thing.
I mean, it could have been 8 CONCACAF teams if the CONCACAF teams would have done
In
with
Jamaica.
it
Won the
was
FIFA
like
playoff.
Jamaica and Suriname both. And I mean, I think that's the other big piece of it. And I think like CONCACAF is definitely one of the confederations where there's definitely a tier 1 and a tier 2. And the tier 1 team and I just mean more from like an infrastructure and like how much investment they have from money perspective did well. And like, even like, I mean, I think Curacao, it's definitely a pass for them. So I would say that like, it's at least 4 of 6 that it's a pass, because getting a point scoring against Germany is probably more than they even hoped for.
Yeah. The last thing I'll say, the one biggest negative of CONCACAF is there is not a stitch of Valar in this entire World Cup, and that is disappointing because no confederation has a mascot like Valar.
And just you wait, Folar will be back this fall. Don't you worry.
You sound like the end of a Marvel movie.
All right, real quick before we wrap this up. Obviously it's been a wonderful tournament for everybody. Like, it's been an unbelievable experience for us. It seems like things are lining up where we might be doing this again 12 years from now. Because of the confederation rotation and hosting, you've got South America and Europe and Africa co-hosting in 2030, and then Asia hosting in 2034. Things are lining up for another North American World Cup in 2038. It's slam dunk at this point, right? Like, all the money they're making, the way this tournament's went, like, it's 100% going to be back in 12 years, correct?
Yeah, and I think it's just going to be the United States this time. I don't think they're
You
going
think
to.
so?
I do, because there's a long time between now and then, right? But I think if Infantino has anything to say about it, he'll just, the fact that the United States, again, we had like what, 25, 30 cities vying for 11 spots, 11 venue cities, and obviously there were 16, right, or 15. And there, so obviously there could have been more. I think that all of these cities that are investing, we have the 2031 World Cup too. So cities are already starting to line up for that. I think at the end of the day, the money, the reason why the money portion with the tickets and stuff like that was because Infantino saw the United States and he sees deep pockets.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that is where, and I think a lot of the amenities as well. I don't know that they split it amongst 3 countries again, or even more. I just don't. That's just me. That's just my hunch. Is that when he says it's coming, he's never said it's coming back to North America in 2038. He says he wants it to come back to the United States in 2038. I think he's going to push for a solo bid from the United States, and I think that's what the United States is preparing.
I'm interested. There's been a lot of rightful backlash against the craven and corruption and like bribery from Infantino, things around like the hydration breaks and like that's even before we get to all of the stuff that happened with Balogun and like which like then opened another Pandora's box.
And Iran, right? Iran.
In Iran. What I'm really interested, what I think one of the things though, like we may say 2038 is a slam dunk, but one of the things I'm most interested coming out of the World Cup is there any push? Like, does Infantino get reelected? I could very much see this being a time of maybe there is some reform candidate that comes into FIFA. So, like, I don't necessarily. I think if Infantino is in charge, I think 2038 is a slam dunk for the United States. But I'm very interested in maybe what things happen with the running of FIFA out of this World Cup, because I do think there are enough people that are upset coming out of it and like people that have power within the international football.
Well, but they all making money.
Yes. Donald brings up a very valid point. Like, Infantino is going to be like, but look at this check you're getting. I will say that Gianni Infantino is an IOC member, and the International Olympic Committee is going to be investigating him because of the complaints around this Balogun thing. So if
I don't think it's just, to be fair, it's not just him intervening or whatever he did in the Balogun situation.
Well, like
that is the catalyst. That is the catalyst. But they have been wanting to investigate him for a long time because remember he went to that summit in the Middle East. That's when they really started saying, "Hey, you're not supposed to be political. That's not what we do here."
The board of peace.
Yeah.
Well, and
remember he was late to the
FIFA
Congress.
Talk about investigating him.
Yeah, he was late to the FIFA Congress because he was coming back from that, and everyone's like, "Why the fuck am I waiting for you if you're going to be at this bullshit?" And yeah, so there are enough people who are like, "Man, I'm sick of this guy," because you would like to think that they're smart enough to know these people running world soccer. They're smart enough to know it's like, you could do this the right way and still make a lot of money. You don't have to do it like he's doing it.
I think the real problem though is we talk about the late great Grant Wall when he tried to run for FIFA president and he couldn't get a single federation to even nominate him so that he could be on the ballot. Back then you only needed a few to get on the ballot. Now you need like X years of service within FIFA's committees, within one of the FIFA executive boards, and then you need like a third of the federations to nominate you. They've set this up so that Infantino will basically run unopposed because no one's going to challenge him from within because no one has the experience that they air quotes require. And they also are sitting there saying these tiny federations, FIFA's making more money than they've ever dreamed of. And that is going to be what wins out. That's what's always won out, honestly. Even when Sepp Blatter was president, he was saying, "Hey, we're making more money, so why would you throw me out? You're not going to make any more money if I'm gone," because he was feeding those bottom federations, those tiny federations. They're all getting better, and now as a result, they're going to turn around and say, "Hey, when it comes time for voting, just remember who sent you these checks." That's how it's probably going to work. I agree with you though. There should be some reform in this. And honestly, for us as Americans, what is the point when we say the money pit has gone dry? What have you said? This is too many events. Every event wants to come here to make money, and they charge us thousands of dollars for tickets because they think we'll pay it. When's that going to stop? It's going to stop when there's a big tournament that comes here, and Americans go, "Yo, guys, we're tapped out. We're done. Like, we just don't have any money for you this summer." That's when they're going to start reevaluating it. But until then, that's why we're talking about Copa America coming in 2028. That's why we have the Olympics coming in 2028. That's why we have the 2031 Women's World Cup, and that's why they're talking about 2038.
They're talking about 2029, another of the Club World Cup being here as well. So I mean, I think I think there's a good chance the money pit dries up sooner than they maybe think.
That's when change will happen.
Yeah. Well, the next FIFA Congress in March of 2027 is when they will hold presidential elections. So in March, you might get the opportunity to see some change. But if by March, we'll know if there's change or not. But those are future issues. And we want to keep talking about the current stuff. So let's wrap this up. We're going to move this to the bar to our one more round bonus episode,
aka therapy.
Also just, remembering some times along our trip following the World Cup. It's been an absolute pleasure, a blast of a tournament. Just like absolutely insane month for everybody. I'm still physically recovering. I haven't had a drink in a week just because my body said no. But you can follow us on Patreon, patreon.com/Concacaf. Please sign up, subscribe, and listen to our one more round bonus episode we're about to record. And follow us on social medias at Concacaf. For Donald at BlazinDW.
Yep.
For Jonathan, what's your at now?
I mean, Yankred7 is my Instagram. Like I'm not necessarily on.
People don't want to see your Instagram. People
It's
don't
a
want to
lot
see
of
my
crazy-
Instagram. Follow at Concacaf. We don't post anything ever.
Yeah, I don't. I'm not super active
Okay.
on the interwebs.
That's you're smarter than the rest of us. So for Donald, for Jonathan, for me, thanks for listening. Like, rate, subscribe, review, tell your friends, and Nations League is coming up.